So David, just to start with, over the last few years, we've seen a rise in knife and gang crime in Bedfordshire. How bad has it got?
Yeah, we have seen quite an increase over the years. I think it's gotten worse in terms of both the number of cases that we see and the severity of the injuries that we're seeing. So on a regular basis we see patients who have been assaulted with a bladed weapon, so stabbed, but we also see patients who have been beaten, assaulted, and had other injuries inflicted upon them. So we're seeing an increase in both the severity of the injuries and the number of patients.
And I mean, you're on the front line of it. You see these children, sometimes teenagers, older victims coming every day. And the reality of it is that it's frightening.
It is. It's really difficult for the staff as well to deal with these, because a lot of us have got children of our own, and the cases that are coming through, the patients that are coming through, are often younger than our own children. These are school-aged children, very young teenagers, and it's very difficult to comprehend just what's going through their minds when they're getting up to these things out in the community.
And I mean, they're life-threatening injuries and sometimes life-ending injuries. That's the reality of what happens if you carry a knife.
Indeed, it is. I mean, we have first-hand experience of patients who have been brought in here, stabbed and injured, and die literally on the trolley you see here, patients dying in your arms. But we also see patients who have got injuries that will change their lives forever, patients who have been stabbed who will need operations to their chest that leave horribly disfiguring and painful scars, patients who have been stabbed in the abdomen who need colostomy bags for the rest of their lives. These are horrible, horrible injuries that have a long-lasting effect on clearly the patients and their families, but also the staff who deal with them.
And then, it's not just a physical toll, it's a mental toll for yourselves as well, for yourself and your colleagues as well. You're trying to save people's life, and then you're the ones that's got to disappoint families and tell them the reality that actually their son or daughter is not coming home.
Yeah. Sometimes dealing with the patient and their injuries is the easy part for us, because that's what we're trained to do. We can do it and we can distance ourselves from it a little bit. But then you go home and you have to rationalise that and come to terms with what you've seen. But I think one of the real key difficulties that I personally have is breaking that news to families. And there is nothing worse than telling a parent, a sister, a brother that their loved one is not coming home.
And are you seeing an increase in the number of people coming with stab wounds?
We are, and we're seeing an alteration in the pattern of injuries that patients are receiving as well. So we're very acutely aware that the incidence of knife crime is rising, because we're seeing that on the front line.
And I presume numbers you can't give me, but in terms of how many people you treated over the last month or last year in terms of stabbing victims?
We will have treated stabbed victims in very significant double figures over the last couple of months, and including some patients who have got horrifically life-changing injuries that will never be the same again.
And there's been 4 deaths, or maybe more, in the county in the last year. One of those was Azan Kaleem.
Yeah. And
you yourself was the one to treat him, but sadly it was just too late.
Yeah. Azan really got to us. He really got to me, because Azan was killed because of a wrong look in the wrong place, and he had a knife because of previous experiences, but he never used it. He'd never been in trouble with any of the authorities before, and I can remember when he was brought in, he was here, and we opened his chest up and managed to stem the bleeding and get the heart going again, but unfortunately he died 2 days later, and I will never forget speaking to his mum. I've spoken to her on numerous occasions since, but I will never ever forget speaking to his mum and his girlfriend, saying, he's alive, but
and I mean, physically you had your hands in his chest. Well, it was his heart.
Yeah, so myself and a number of colleagues performed a procedure on him that effectively opened his chest and exposed his heart to us. That enabled us to get to the stab wound that had punctured his heart and close that. And it was myself, it was a number of colleagues, both operating and keeping him alive while we were doing that. It happened so quickly. We had very little warning that Azam was going to be with us, and he was here, and we were in that chest and doing that very, very quickly, and we didn't have time to think about what we did. It really was, the training kicks in almost. Yeah, that was unpleasant.
And sadly, cases like that aren't that uncommon recently, in terms of, with the rise of crime, you don't want to be seeing that more and more often now, but if people don't put knives down, it will continue to happen. That's the reality and the sad truth of it.
That is. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not carrying a knife, then you're not going to stab someone else. And if you're not carrying a knife, then you probably won't get stabbed. A lot of the patients that we see here have been stabbed with their own weapons. So they've been carrying a knife, and it's that knife that they've been stabbed with. It's just, I can't see the point of carrying a knife. I understand why people have bad experiences and that changes their view on things, and there are reasons why these young people choose to do what they do, but to me it makes no sense. To me it makes no sense whatsoever. Azam is dead because someone was carrying a knife. It's as simple as that. It's gotten to the point now where when we get stab victims in here, we will not start to treat them until we are absolutely sure that they themselves are not carrying a weapon. So we will, before the staff lay hands on the patient here, if they haven't already been searched by the police at scene, we will strip them and search them here before we let any of our staff get to them, because we know the incidence of patients who carry knives that have been stabbed, it's nearly 100% of them. They've been carrying their own weapons, and we don't want to get injured by that.
And that's why you've now got this Now Dreams initiative with the Police and Crime Commission, Bedfordshire Police, to stop parents to be, children, young children, and hit home the message that this is the reality of it. You are literally on the knife edge, trying to save people's lives, and this is the consequence of what happens if you carry a sort of labelled weapon. What do you think this initiative can do? It's got to the point with us now where I am absolutely sick and tired of patients coming in here with knife injuries, and it's reached a turning point for us as a hospital whereby it's no longer acceptable for us to patch them up and fix them and get them back out afterwards. We've got to do something to stop it from happening in the first place. We've got to get out there and work with the authorities to get the message across that knives and knife crime is simply not acceptable. It is not the way to go. We've been working with the police for some time in sharing information that will help them with their policing strategies, but this is different. This is where we're actually going to children, young people, and indeed expectant parents to say to them, look, this is how we can avoid your child from going down this pathway. So this is a more proactive approach with the police and crime commissioner, who's done some excellent work and continues to fund and formulate new initiatives, and we're happy to be a partner with that, to say what it's really like and what being stabbed is really about. And the fact is, it's not a badge of honour. It's a lifetime of pain, scars and disfigurement.